the World Cup, when will the next World Cup be held, Parchment? And by the way, I'm joined by a senior sports journalist who has covered multiple special sports events from the Olympics to just different things, right? So, Rashid Parchment, when will the next World Cup be?
The next World Cup starts in summer in June 2026. It will take place in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And as it stands, Jamaica does not have a place there yet. Yet is important because although Jamaica did not get the win they wanted on Tuesday night against Curacao to secure that spot, it's not over yet because there's a playoff round coming in March. With Jamaica is in the semi-final round. They've been drawn against New Caledonia. The draw took place this morning. So Jamaica plays against New Caledonia to see if they can get a spot in the final round of the playoff to play against the Republic of Congo. On the other side of the playoff, it's Bolivia versus another CONCACAF team, Suriname. Now, the winner of that game will play off against Iraq, and the winner of the games between whoever wins between Jamaica and New Caledonia and Congo, they would qualify for the World Cup. While whoever wins between Suriname and Bolivia plays against Iran.
Let me show the audience. Let me show the audience what's happening because that one is on that one. That means that means we can't lose any match, right?
No, once you lose, you're done. And that is a concern to me because this Jamaica team, even though they've only lost 2 games in the qualifying campaign, I was not impressed with any performance. I mean, we beat Bermuda twice 4-0, but I mean, it's Bermuda. No disrespect to Bermuda. But the way you see Bermuda play and the where their program is, you expect to be routing Bermuda. Even Curacao beat Bermuda 7-0 recently, last week. So you'd expect a win there. But Jamaica, let me start off from the beginning. The first game that Jamaica played was on a different coach. That was Jaime Hallgrimson, the Finnish coach. So
how can you have so many different coaches though? Why
we'll still get to that.
All right,
we'll get to that. So we played 2 qualifying games on it because qualification started in what year are we now? 2025. So in 2024, June 2024, we played Domrep here at the National Stadium and we beat them 1-0. And for me, that game was not impressive because although we won, Domrep looked like a team that just met each other on the plane coming over to Kingston. And we struggled to beat them. Days later, we played Dominica and beat Dominica 3-2. Now, we were leading 3-0 at one point in the game, and with like 15 minutes to go, we let Dominica back in, and they won. And we won. We scraped it 3-2. We went on from there to play British Virgin Islands, beat them 1-0. It was a scrappy game. Jamaica scrapped. Jamaica, think about it. Jamaica with all its players from the English Premier League, the Championship, players all across Europe with so much experience and reputation, can only beat British Virgin Islands 1-0. But they did get through the group there because they also played Guatemala. And they beat Guatemala 3-0 in Kingston. But that game, Guatemala was a week out from the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which they and Jamaica played again in a week. But Guatemala rested 9 of the regular players. So Jamaica had a comfortable win 3-0 there. So I'm not saying that win said that Jamaica was fine.
Right. It wouldn't show much.
Exactly. And we even went on to play Guatemala a week later in the Gold Cup and lost there. And we lost every single game. We lost 2 games in the Gold Cup and we ended up crashing out of the Gold Cup that last summer. Right. From there, JFF President Michael Ricketts said he was concerned about the state of affairs. And a lot of people were upset about the performances and calling for head coach Steve McLaren to be stopped. But you can't fire the coach at that point because this was in July and World Cup qualifiers started in September. The second round anyway, the final round of qualifiers. And what that meant is that with 3 months out, you cannot fire the coach, get a new coach in, have him set up his systems and get ready for it because you also need qualification games. Not qualification games, friendly games to warm up for these games.
True. Wait,
so there was no time.
Can you just stick a pin for me?
Sure.
How long have these players been playing together?
They've been playing together for most of them for 2 years. I mean, you have a couple of new players in the squad, but the core of the squad has been together for at least 2 years since Jaime Hallgrimson came here. And in fact, Jaime Hallgrimson came in September 2022, but he really established his own squad in around the summer of 2023 for that Gold Cup. So most of these players.
You're familiar enough with each other by this point.
Absolutely. But the problem is not familiarity. The problem is a lack of skill set and what they're being asked to do. Because if you go back to this game against Trinidad, And not just Trinidad and Curacao. And remember, we played Trinidad last Thursday, and we played
Mhm.
Curacao Tuesday night. Gone. It was the same type of football being played. And why I say that is that the big problem Jamaica has is its midfield. We don't have creative ball playing, passing midfielders. Our midfield is stacked with defensive minded midfielders. They can break up the play from the opponents easily. They can get tackles in. But when they get the ball, they don't have the vision and the craft to play the ball
Because
forward and supply the attackers. So
many
what
people
it means,
many people were saying based off the last match that we were playing more a defensive minded game and not a offensive minded game. And some
right,
people likened it to a volleyball where you're just kicking the ball really far.
right, and that's what I was getting to. Because Steve McLaren is known as a very defensive minded coach, and I'll get into his past reputation in a bit. But what he did, because I even asked him in Trinidad about him saying last summer that he doesn't have the midfield he wants. And I asked him last week after we drew 1-1 with Trinidad, do you know how the midfield and is there still a challenge in how your midfield is set up? And he said to me that he still has a challenge, and what he does is bypass the midfield by playing long balls down the flanks. So we play wide football and play it long. And that is why it resulted in that ugly football game that people are talking about. The volleyball looking football game where you launch the ball long and expect a man to run onto it. And the problem there for me is that Ronaldo Cephas is Jamaica's best outlet on the team, and I have my issues with him.
Mhm.
But when you're playing a long ball and expecting Cephas to jump and head it out of the air, you're asking for problems here because Cephas is not a particularly tall person. He's about maybe 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
So when you're going up against 6 foot defenders, they're always gonna beat you in the air. What you need to be doing to Cephas is playing the ball along the ground and passing to his feet so he can get the ball and sprint onto it. But we just don't have those midfielders that can do that. Somebody like a Daniel Johnson. I don't know if you remember this guy who used to play for the team a couple of years ago, this Rasta guy in midfield. He is
Mhm.
the one, I think, from we stop picking him, the
Mhm.
way we play just completely changed. Now we don't look as free flowing anymore. We're just playing this long ball football and it's pretty ugly to watch. And that is what Steve McLaren is really known for because Steve McLaren used to coach England, believe it or not. And
Mhm.
he famously did not qualify England for Euro 2008, the European Championships, back in 2007. And this is an England team stacked with stars. You think of Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney, David Beckham, Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes,
Yeah,
John
some
Terry,
big
Ashley
names.
Cole, all the big names you can think of for England. And this man failed to get them to the European Championship in similar fashion because that night when it came down to it, they were playing at home at Wembley and they're playing Croatia. All Croatia needed was a draw to go through. Croatia came to Wembley. He played defensive minded football and they lost the game. The last game, I think it was 2-0. And Croatia, wait, no, they drew the game. And Croatia had the draw they wanted and went on to Euros while England crashed out. And he was ridiculed for it because that night it was pouring rain and all he did was standing on the touchline with an umbrella over his head, looking clueless. The back pages of the newspaper next morning said Wally with the brolly. And they were making fun of him for that. And even at the time, it was around the time when Rihanna's Umbrella song was a hit. So I can remember someone remixing the Umbrella song for him. So he's always been known as somebody to fail. He hadn't had a before this taking this Jamaica job, he hadn't been a head coach of a team since
So wait,
2019.
let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Did Jamaica select him because he was, the most reasonable person out there with a name?
I think
What?
that's part of it. The reputation he had because he was coming in as a Manchester United assistant coach.
Okay.
And
Oh.
what the JFF told us was that he worked on a FIFA project in Jamaica
Mm.
before, years ago. So he was familiar with the Jamaican system, but clearly not. If he's constantly picking English born players and players that don't fit the way that Jamaica wants to play, clearly he
Right.
doesn't know enough about how Jamaica wants to play football. So I had my issues right with him from day one. And
I got you. Because
this so play out.
I'm trying to get up a little image so we can show the public. I mean, this is the JFF head person talking about,
Yeah, Michael Ricketts, the president.
yeah, firing him. So what does a coach, and let me just go to my journalism type thing, right? What does a coach
Yeah.
like paid? What is this like price
They didn't give us his salary because it's not like all right. So this job is not a government job. So it's not like we have the access to information that can allow us to see his salary. It's a
Okay.
private job. So what I can tell you is that the previous coach, Jaime Hallgrimson, was earning £75 million a month. Not pounds. 75 million Jamaican dollars a month.
75 or
Yeah,
7.5?
but
7 point.
75 million Jamaican dollars a month.
You're
So I
lying.
would think Steve no, and I would think Steve McLaren was earning much more. But the thing is, in the grand scheme of things, that's a pittance.
But so let me.
As a Jamaican looking at it, it look like enough money. But you see the big coaches in world football, that's
Mhm.
a drop in the bucket to what they can earn. Because if you think about Thomas Tuchel at England, that guy is earning somewhere close to 300 million. If you convert it to Jamaican dollars, he's earning something like 300 million Jamaican dollars a month.
So
So the
wait,
75 we're paying him is a pittance.
where do we get this type of money?
Well,
Let's ball
FIFA gives
in.
FIFA gives the JFF money yearly, but that money still wouldn't cover it, and JFF gets it the rest of it funding through the private sector. So the sponsorship deals is coming in, those help to pay the coaches. Because
Does
I
it?
can remember famously when Rene Simoes was here, I think it was Grace and Courts who used to pay salary, and Digital might have been involved too.
So does it make monetary sense to have, because what would the players be paid?
So the players don't really earn a salary like a monthly salary like that. Like they're not on retainer contract. So what they get is a match stipend, and they work out that stipend on an individual basis. Just like how in any sport, if you're a professional athlete and you sit down in your club, you work out your contract and you work out how much works for you. Each player works out with the JFF what works for them. So they get their monthly the base stipend, and then there are bonuses attached to that based on appearances, goals you might score. Or if you're a defensive minded player like a goalkeeper or defender, you get your clean sheet bonus. All those little things.
Parchment, I don't even want to digress too much, but
Yeah,
Jamaican athletes have long been complaining that they are not getting meaningful compensations. And
yeah,
one of the loudest in recent history is Asafa Powell, who has always been lobbying for better compensation for Jamaican athletes, right?
yeah.
What incentive do we have to ensure that we recruit some of the best athletes if they don't have like a good stipend?
It's difficult. It's always gonna be difficult. But you see, with football now and with the World Cup, a lot of players, regardless of the fact that we can't pay them necessarily what they want,
Them
they
want go.
still want to join the team because they want to go to the World Cup. And a lot of them, let's be real, a lot of them are joining the team because they know that they have no chance in hell of joining the England team or even the US team. So they
True.
come here. So
Okay.
it's either you sit down and ball about money and don't play World Cup, or you just suck it up and know say you're gonna get a chance to go to World Cup.
All right. So let's get back now to the Jamaica's performance, right?
Yeah.
So we chose this coach, but you're saying that there was a change in coach during
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah. So what happened was in 2022, we hired Jaime Hallgrimsson, an Icelandic coach. His task was to get us to the World Cup. That was his contract. So his contract would have really expired at the summer of the World Cup, 2026, and it would have been renewed for the World Cup. But he quit on the team after Jamaica crashed out of Copa America, the South American Championship. Jamaica was invited to that in the summer of 2024. Jamaica lost all three games there, and he quit because the team wasn't playing well under him either, and he was under some amount of pressure. But while he was under pressure, the Ireland Football Association wanted to hire him. So he got the offer and quit on the team and went off to coach Ireland. And right now he has Ireland in the playoffs as well.
Wow.
Ireland will be playing Czechia in their playoffs in Europe. So because of that, now as I said, they had to find a replacement by September last year to play the qualifying game and the Nation League game. Then comes Steve McLaren in July last year, and he was appointed and he took over the team from then. He said he was leaving behind a database of statistics and player information for the next coach behind him to use if they want it.
Oh
The very
wow.
next, the very I wasn't a fan of that because I wasn't a fan of how his team was playing. So why are you
Right.
leaving your rubbish for the next team? That's how I saw it. Move with that. If I had access to it, would I take it and burn it so the coach couldn't see? Honestly. So what annoyed me was that Steve McLaren said in his first press conference that he had a phone conversation with Jaime Hallgrimsson. So the two coaches talking, the previous one and the new one had a conversation, and he took the database from him and went through it with him. And you could see it because the first sign of it was the players he was picking. Some players were in the team that a lot of people had problems with. How they were playing, the lack of attacking creativity from them. And
Mhm.
it looked like the last squad we saw looked like the very next squad. So it was clear that Steve McLaren was picking the players that Nigel Hallgrimson recommended to him. And a lot of these players are still in the squad. They're still the poor players. You're talking about players like Joel Latibo there, Dexter Lembikisa, Greg Lee, Ronaldo Cephas, all those players still in the team because they were a Jaime Hallgrimson's boy. And
Mm.
McLaren came and continued. And I used to call when Jaime Hallgrimson at Jamaica playing, I used to call it, I take the grim old time name Hallgrimson, I call it Grimmy Ball. And I said Steve McLaren was playing Grimmy Ball 2.0 because the football was just the same. And in
Wow.
fact, it was producing even worse results.
No, no, let's get to the famous retirement speech, right? No, this
I mean,
the,
yeah,
the current coach, right, retired immediately after our draw with Curacao, right?
yeah, yeah.
No,
So, mhm,
many people are saying, right, that this was a drafted statement, right? You and I had a small conversation right after the match.
yeah,
Good. I used to
yeah,
carry me the extra long time in the locker room before coming to out to the press conference. But
yeah,
I must say to you, Richard, how this letter was constructed, I don't think nobody could have write that in no locker room, Reggie. Because the
no,
letter was constructed like a political statement.
yeah,
It really didn't ruffle any feathers. It was very diplomatic in
yeah.
the middle of its terminologies. And I think that this man had two letters that he probably put down. I say, oh, based on the outcome of the match, I am
Yeah.
going to say this. Give me your take on his resignation.
So I was at the game, right? And I was at the press conference waiting for him for about an hour. And I wanted to believe that that is why he spent so long. He was sitting there typing it on a laptop and probably went off to an office upstairs to print it. But knowing the type of character Steve McLaren is, I'm thinking along with you that he had this prepared. And he was just afraid to face the media. Why I say he was afraid to face the media, as I said, it took him roughly an hour to come down and face the press conference, the meet the journalists gathered there. And while we were waiting, somebody came into the room and said, the coach quit. So I got furious. I was saying, the coach quit and don't even come and dress us and tell us himself that he quit. At least somebody from the JFF needs to speak to us. And as soon as I said that, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, the president outside. So I rushed outside with my phone. And the same thing you played earlier with Michael Ricky speaking, that was my interview. So I rushed out and I was speaking to him. I was talking on the phone to him. He did an interview. And then it became a big media storm with all the journalists surrounding us and asking questions. And that is when Steve McLaren snuck by us and went into the press conference and delivered his speech. And he was just hoping that the others who were there would just pick it up and just be one or two journalists. Because when I spoke to Michael Ricketts for close to 10 minutes, and when I finished speaking, now I'm an observer reporter. My other colleague from Observer was there. He was standing in the media room. And I came back and spoke to him and said, I spoke to Michael Ricketts. And he said, and he just took out his phone and showed me the speech that McLaren gave. So I was like, this is from yesterday because I saw the table. I didn't see when McLaren came in the room and I came back and didn't see McLaren there. So I'm like, so when did you do this? And he said, just now. So I'm like, hold on. So McLaren was here and nobody never said anything to us or said, he's here. So he clear he slipped in, delivered the speech and slipped out quickly, like a coward. And I don't respect that.
So, well, let me ask you something. Do you think the JFF was caught off guard with his impromptu retirement? I mean, yeah.
Resignation. Um, yeah, they were expecting him to stay because the contract, just like Jaime Hallgrimson's contract, would have said that the task is to get you to the World Cup. So as long as you weren't eliminated from World Cup qualifying, you still have a contract. So they were expecting that he would be thinking he's leading the team into the playoffs. Although what Michael Ricketts said to me was that he was of the feeling of sacking him because he said to me that any member of the Jamaican public, based on the performance tonight, would want to fire the coach. So that tells me that he was thinking about firing him, even if he didn't think he would quit.
Ah, get you. Now the big question that everybody wants to ask. Your paper,
Yeah,
your same paper. I don't know if you were the one that wrote it, but more than likely you edited it, right?
yeah,
Was stating that who will be the next head coach for the
Yeah,
Jamaica Football Club. No, I want to put this out there to you, and I'm going to put this out there to you based on what you guys wrote it up. Good.
yeah,
So this is your headline for the Jamaica Observer.
right.
Good.
Yeah,
All right. No, this is what your Jamaica, your company is saying now. The first man up, right?
yeah, yeah. So
It's
let
a
me preface this by
controversial.
saying, this is not anything unlike any information. This is just a public poll to see what the public want to say.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean it can happen. And the first name there you have rightly is Craig Butler. But we must warn, not because you can coach a Premier League team or a Manning Cup team, it means you can coach a national team. I don't just say
Because
that based on ability. I'm
let, let,
saying based on
let,
qualification.
let's face it, right?
Yeah,
Craig has a larger than life personality. Good.
yes, yes,
Don't have to be very abrasive, right?
yes,
Don't have to be very headstrong.
yes.
But definitely has some social knack that connects with the people,
He's very charismatic, and I find that dangerous.
right? So,
Yeah,
do you think that there's a possibility that he could be the coach regardless of that?
absolutely not. And let me tell you why. To coach an international team, you need what is known as a pro license.
Okay.
So there are various stages of FIFA licenses. So you start at the D license, and that allow you to coach like call corner league teams, like community team.
Right.
With your B license, you can coach that. C license allows you to coach like a Manning Cup team or Colts team or school football.
Got you.
The B license allows you to coach like a Premier League team.
Okay.
And then the top license now is called, it be called the A license, but they modified it, and this is known as the pro license. The
Okay.
only coach in Jamaica that has a pro license as of right now that I know of is Rudolph Speed. Rudolph Speed is the coach for Cavalier. He was also McLaren's advisor for this campaign.
Farmer,
And
Speed is an accountant, right? Because
right, he's a chartered accountant as well.
he was an
And
accountant.
right, he stepped away from it.
Wow.
But
So Speed,
he's also the technical committee chairman. What the technical committee does is they put the coach in place. That is him. They put the coach in place. So he would have been the one, along with his board, a selection panel, would have been the one to decide who becomes the head coach of the team.
okay.
So he could do it, But the problem with that is that it would create a conflict of interest because of his interest with Cavalier. You can't be picking the national team while you have a club. You are president of a club, and you could have a perceived interest where you could be picking your players. Not saying he would do it, but the
And
possibility exists.
usually, in cases like those, they do ask you to give up one of the posts.
Right, exactly. And he doesn't want to do that because, Cavalier is his business.
Right.
Cavalier is his bread and butter, is what he makes money from. He brings in players young and sells them off to Europe and make a profit. So that is his core business. So he's not going to want to give that up.
Ah, gotcha. Now, let's just talk about a Jamaican sports hero, right?
Yeah. You remember months ago we did a topic about the greatest sportsmen, and I said that Theodore Whitmore to me is one of Jamaica's greatest sportsmen, and he doesn't get the respect he deserves.
He even came up with an interview stating that he felt that way.
Yeah, and I fully agree with him. Theodore Whitmore as a player was one of Jamaica's most instrumental midfielders ever. He qualified Jamaica for the World Cup, went to the World Cup and scored 2 goals to give Jamaica the win over Japan. After that, he came back as a coach and did very well as a coach. Everybody thinks when we think about Jamaica's greatest coach, obviously Rene Simoes comes to mind because he was the one that got Jamaica to the promised land of the World Cup. But Theodore Whitmore, as a coach, has a better winning percentage than even Rene Simoes. No other Jamaican coach in history has won as many games for Jamaica as a coach than Theodore Whitmore. Theodore Whitmore has also won a Caribbean Cup as a player and a coach for Jamaica, and also took Jamaica to a Gold Cup final. He's coached the team on 3 different occasions. Would I want to see him back? Yes, but I think there are certain things I want him to do differently, but there are things I like about when Whitmore coaches the team. We play very attacking football, and I think the midfield, the same defensive-minded midfield I'm complaining about, it doesn't exist out of Whitmore. Whitmore has players that will select players that can actually win the ball in midfield and pass it around. And When Whitmore had the team, I think the best football I saw Jamaica playing was in 2021 at the Gold Cup. Because even though Jamaica didn't win the Gold Cup, Jamaica got knocked out at the second round, but the way they were playing, that game they lost that knocked them out, I felt they were unfortunate. I was upset when we lost. I was thinking, you know what? We lost, but we gave a good account of ourselves with the football we were playing, and we just couldn't find the net. So I wasn't upset. And based on the football, I am seeing us playing. I mean, I would want us to try somebody new, but if I was to hear tomorrow morning that Theodore Whitmore was being appointed, I wouldn't think it's a worst possible idea, especially as Whitmore is a man who has been involved in the system. He understands Jamaican football. He knows the players personally. He knows the players well, and he more importantly, he understands CONCACAF football, and he understands how to get a team running right away. So I
Oh,
would I would be fine with it, but I would want a different pace. But if it's Whitmore, it wouldn't be the end of the world for me.
let us look at the next poll, right?
Now, Miguel Coley was actually when Steve McLaren was being hired. Miguel Coley was the name I wanted for all the very reasons I just told you about Whitmore. He understands CONCACAF football. He's been a part of the system. He understands Jamaican football. He understands the Jamaican public. He understands Jamaican players. He knows Jamaican players well, and he's been in the system. He was Winfried Schaefer's assistant. Winfried Schaefer had the Jamaica team from 2013 to 2016, and he famously took Jamaica to the Gold Cup final in 2015, where they lost 3-1 to Mexico. It was the first time Jamaica was playing a Gold Cup final under Schaefer, and they also played some very good football. And
Okay.
Cody was. I remember there was a game where Schaefer was suspended. You got a red card in that game, and Coley had to manage the team in the next game, and he did. I mean, Jamaica didn't win the game, but he did pretty well for a coach of his standing. And we talk about the pro license. He has a pro license because where he is right now is in the Middle East. He's worked with Schaefer in the Middle East because Schaefer trusts him so much. When Schaefer got a job in the Middle East, he called Coley there with him as his assistant, and Coley eventually went and did his badges and got his license. So
What
he
what do you need to do in terms of to be qualified to get those license? When you say a badge, what does
it's
that
a
require?
yeah,
Is
they
that is
call it a badge, but it's a course, it's a coaching course that
okay?
FIFA offers. And FIFA offers it here in Jamaica. You have to go to University of Technology through JFF to get that course. And I think it costs about 10,000 US dollars to do it. And it
Okay.
lasts somewhere between 3 and 6 months. And in that course, it tells you it trains you about player nutrition, player fitness, tactics, getting players
So, so we're looking at about like upwards of 1.5 million Jamaican to do it, right?
something like that. Yeah.
Now, how long does the course last? Is it like
As I
6 months?
said, somewhere between 3 to 6 months. But one of the problems we're having why Rudolph Speed is the only man in Jamaica that has that license is that a lot of coaches just don't want to go and do it. They feel like them bigger than doing it, that they don't need it. You talk to some, I've spoken to some and them say that, boy, look how many years me a coach. Why me if gonna do this now? Me I do this long time, I don't need it.
And that's one of the things that we kind of hold us down is
Yes,
that qualification because in first world countries, you have to also consistently requalify yourself for your job. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
If people want, updated measures, I mean, there are still a lot of coaches who don't necessarily get with the whole computer movement, right?
Yeah,
And they want coaches to understand, how to incorporate analytics. I'm not a big fan of analytics per se,
yeah,
but it is a way that you're going to incorporate technology into your coaching strategies. And I'm certain that there are certain technological upgrades that FIFA would be using, right? And
yeah.
FIFA would be using, and they would want coaches to make sure that they're in sync with all of these things too.
Absolutely, because the game is always changing, tactics are changing, the way players play is changing. Just think about the fact that the World Cup now has 48 teams rather than 32. So what that means is that more teams means more matches. More matches means that you're playing football more. So you need to know how to manage your squad better and condition your players and keep them away from injury better. So as things and times change and the culture of football changes and the climate of football changes, you as a coach have to change with it, change with those times. Because what a coach was doing in the early 90s can't fly now. Football has changed too far from them. It's just like in motorsport. Think about the implementation of the halo and the tire. You see they have different tire strategies for Formula One. It's not like back in the 60s or even days like Ayrton Senna time. Things have changed so much that you as a team principal in Formula One have to roll with these changes and move with the technological advancement and cars. So it's same in football. You talk about VAR, the video officials, and you need to add the new rules, as of course, in football. Just the other day, they had a new rule where if the goalkeeper holds on to the ball for more than 8 seconds, it's a foul, and a corner is even to the other team. So
Okay,
those things you have to be in line with them. So as a coach, you need to go and refresh yourself.
gotcha. Now, is there anything against our national, our own citizens being head coach, as opposed to, because some people are arguing that you need an international person, but
Right,
pretty much
right.
like Captain Burrell had
Yeah.
gotten Moyes. Do you think that's the case?
So our answer is that I don't necessarily think that it has to be a foreign coach. If there's a local coach here who has the credentials and has the experience, then by all means, because just like I said, I wouldn't mind Theodore Whitmore as a coach because he has that experience, but he doesn't have the pro license. How he was able to do that to coach team without a pro license? FIFA made an exemption for him, but things sometimes have changed, and the regime is different at FIFA. They won't allow that anymore. So he would need to go and get a pro license, and I think he probably is working on it right now. Because from what I understand, he would be open to coaching the team again, but it's just a matter of of whether the JFF and the personalities would want him there again. But to answer your question better, it's just that there isn't anybody experienced enough here to do that job. But if that person was here, that's fine. But the person just doesn't exist.
Okay. Now, one of the things I observe, and I could be wrong because I am just a spectator in the world of Jamaican football. You are a participant, right?
Mm.
But is it how much of the bureaucracy also holds up the whole process? There are a lot of voices sometimes I'm hearing when it comes on to governing the Jamaican football squad, and everybody wants to be an expert who is a participant. Is that also an issue?
Sometimes it can be because I know on that previous general secretary who was the second in command at the Jamaica Football Federation. There used to be problems with the players. So like when flights were being booked, players would complain that they can't fly business class and have to be flying economy class. And then to upgrade their ticket, they would have to spend out of their own pocket to upgrade the ticket. So those things would get in the way. And I remember Leon Bailey and I think it was Damian Lowe
Yeah,
and
man.
Andre Blake famously saying that the JFF getting in the way of them qualifying because of those little issues. But from what I've seen recently, there have been those issues, and the squad seems happy enough to come here, and those logistic issues have gone because they've changed the Gensec twice now. Because when Dalton went, the one they were having the problems with left, Dennis Chung came in, and Dennis Chung is known more in the political world as a businessman. So he
Mhm.
brought his business mind to it, and he was the one that was able to get the JFF out of millions and millions of dollars a day, and he got them out of the red and into the black. And since then, things have been better, and he left to take on another political job. And now, Mr. Roy Simpson is the acting general secretary. And from my conversations with him, because I wrote a story on this on Sunday as well, where he said that they have more dialogue with the players now. So it's a matter of sitting on the table and sitting with the players and hearing what the players want. And if they can't offer the players what they want because the money is still limited, they try to work out a compromise. So, for instance, he said to me, if the player wants a business class ticket and they can only offer a premium economy, what they would say to the player is that, all right, since we can only offer the premium economy, what we will do for you is give you a single occupant hotel room as a trader, and the players seem okay with it. And of course, everybody wants to go to the World Cup. So nobody not going to say, boy, no, I'm not deal with that and just sit down at the yard and don't play World Cup. People want to join the squad right now, so they will take up the offer.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. This was another great exchange.
Yeah,
I
man.
am looking forward to doing more of these lives. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I love sharing, good content with you and good Jamaican focused content. Definitely going to have Parchment on again. As you can see, sir, extremely good analytical sports mind. You can look for his pieces in the Jamaica Observer in the sports section when he's not editing. He does write specific special pieces that you can read and enjoy. Parchment in upon
And you
social
can
media.
also catch me on Edge FM at 3 p.m. on Fridays.
Oh, where?
During Edge FM, during the Burgerman show on 3 p.m. at Fridays.
All right, no problem. So listen, there's where you can find it. Thanks again for tuning in to
As
Kareems.
always.
All right, bless up.
Yeah, man, cool.